Hi, everybody. It's Dr. K here, Professor Kat, welcoming you to Victimology, one of my very favorite subjects. It's a very fascinating subject, and I hope you're going to find a lot of value and use in this course. I'm going to talk a little bit today about basics of victimology and why you should learn about victimology. Why does this matter? So first of all, a little bit about me. I'm multi-degreed, and I have been a college professor for about a decade and a half. So taught a lot of different things, and I have a lot of varied life experience as well. What makes me qualified to talk about victimology is that I worked in the field for several years, first as a volunteer victim advocate for victims of violent crime, people that had experienced, I believe, a child asked me one time what I do, why was I here? And I said, well, when bad things happen, I'm the person that comes in and helps out. So I'm not a police officer, I'm not an EMT. I was like a first responder that showed up and assisted victims with resources, talked to them, sometimes kept them safe, made sure they had a safe space to be. It kind of depended on what the situation was. So I've been involved in a lot of those different situations, and I'm going to share a lot of those stories throughout this course as a way of illustrating victimology and the effects that certain events have on victims and secondary victims, such as witnesses. So we're going to talk about that. So I started out as a victim advocate, a volunteer. I became a paid victim advocate, and later coordinated and trained all of our victim advocates. I worked with police officers, EMTs, lots of first responders, the police chaplains, other agencies. So there's a lot of different people that I worked with, a lot of different moving parts. And it gave me, I'm also a survivor of abuse myself. So the combination of these experiences gave me kind of a unique perspective on what it's like to be victims and how this affects victims, because it can affect them in a very unique way. Everyone responds a little differently to trauma. So that's part of learning about victimology as well, that every now and then we might see in the news that someone thought someone's reaction to a crime or maybe losing a family member or something like that wasn't right. And there's a lot of different ways that people respond to trauma and grief and tragedy. And there's not a right way, but there's definitely right ways of handling situations. So why should victimology matter to you? It matters to us because we never know when we're going to use this information. You may not decide, I'm going to become a police officer, or I'm going to be an EMT, or anything like that. But victimology will serve you well in many, many different walks of life. So I'm going to give you a little story time. I have a friend who started working at a very small workplace where there wasn't an HR department. There wasn't anyone that she could talk to about what went on in the workplace. And to make a sort of long, involved story short, she became a victim of a workplace bully, her and another person. And while they were not physically attacked, they were threatened. So this threat to my friend was very traumatizing for her. She's a former victim. She had been in therapy. She'd been doing a lot of different things to heal herself mentally and physically. And hearing and seeing these threats, one threat was very, very vocal and nasty, and involved a lot of nasty name calling that really upset her. And it kind of reopened some of those wounds where she was having nightmares again, stuff like that hadn't happened in years. So she went to her boss, and like I said, there's no HR, and she showed him some of the text messages she had seen, an altercation between the bully and another person, and this was very upsetting to her. And her boss initially talked to her inappropriately, was very condescending. He then later sounded like he was gonna do something about it, but it ended up being that he just gave the bully a stern talking to and then returned to my friend, and again was very condescending in his tone to her, basically acting like it was just like a junior high playground type of incident that he literally said, you should just let those things just slide off your back. It's no big deal, right? And she was very concerned about this, again, like I said, because it was affecting her mental health. And how would that situation have been different if this man understood, and it could be anybody, male, female, in a management position, if this person understood how victimology works, how, primary victims, secondary victims, re-victimization after the event has occurred, perhaps he would have taken this more seriously. She's now in the process of leaving this workplace because of these situations. She does not feel safe, and she does not feel that she's being protected. You wouldn't want to go to work every day if you felt like you were unsafe. And so you will come across these type of situations in different parts of your life. Even as an instructor, I have students that are going through some of these things. I have a student, I've had students before that are in shelters for domestic violence victims. I had a student call me from a hospital bed because they've been a victim of violence. So there's many, many times in life where this is going to come in handy, whether or not you go into a criminal field or not. Understanding victimology is vital. It helps us understand each other, how people respond to trauma and how it affects them. And also it can help us heal ourselves. If you've been a victim of trauma and you don't really understand victimology, this is going to help you too. It's going to be really important in your life and in the process of your career. I guarantee you it's going to come in handy. I might use it probably more than I use algebra, right? So I can't say I've never used algebra since school, but I use victimology a lot more. So I appreciate you listening to this video. You'll have a video about every chapter from me. As you can see, I'm not really scary. There was a cat in the background a little bit ago. I foster cats. My contact information is in the course. You are always welcome to reach out. And if any question, I don't care what it is about the class, reach out to me. I'll answer it. I have learned in my career as a teacher that if one person asks, there's probably a few more of you that had the same question. So don't feel bad if you don't understand something, even the mechanics of how the course works, any of those things. I want you to reach out to me, shoot me an email, send me a text, and let's talk. And I'm really looking forward to a really, really awesome class.